Hello everyone. Hi Kanchan, Mamta, Vijay. How are you?
I'm
Fine,
fine,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. So last class, any doubts? Is that part clear? Any doubts from last class?
No, ma'am.
No doubts.
Okay, so in last class, what all things did we discuss? Anyone remembers? What all points were discussed?
Meaning and definition of contract, ma'am, when it came,
Hmm.
and what is proposal, what is acceptance, and all, I think.
Yeah, what is proposal, acceptance, and also what is the difference between agreement and contract, and
Yeah.
also the definitions.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so definition part, you try to remember the sections. Okay, that part is like very important. So you try to remember the definitions like sections, and also the date when it was enacted and when it came into force. So those two dates are also very important. So I have also shared the document, right, for first class. So you can go through that document also, so that you have an idea like what all things were discussed, and accordingly you can prepare also. Okay. So are you all preparing for Karnataka judiciary only or some other states also? Anyone?
Now I'm going for, now I'm as a final year student, ma'am.
Okay, you're final year student.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, 10th sem, is it?
No. 3 years syllabus, 5 sem, 5th sem.
3 years. Okay, okay. From where you are doing?
ISBR Law College, ma'am.
Okay. So you will be appearing for Karnataka only, is it?
Yes, ma'am, only Karnataka.
Okay. So Kanchan, for which state are you preparing?
For Bihar.
Okay, for Bihar.
Coming exam on 7 October, and also for MP and UP.
Okay, okay. So they declared the dates, is it? Bihar. Others, Neha, for which state are you appearing?
Ma'am, I'm preparing for all the Hindi belt
Yes,
area,
ma'am.
UPMP,
Okay.
and I'm in final year.
Oh, you
Final
are
year.
also 5 years. Okay. Which college?
Ramaya College.
Ramaya. Okay. And Vijay?
Ma'am, I'm preparing for Tamil Nadu exam.
Tamil Nadu. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mamta?
Karnataka, ma'am.
Karnataka only. Okay, fine then. Fine. So we will start with today's class. Okay. So in case you have any doubts or anything to be discussed, right, from the previous classes, you can let me know. Or if you want any part to be, like revised, anything to be repeated or something, you can let me know. Okay, always. So fine, we will continue with the next part today. So last class we discussed regarding when it came into force and all of that, what part basically Indian Contract Act includes. Like there is the general principles and we have the specific type of contracts that we have. Then we also came to know that it's applicable even for Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. Then these are the definitions, difference between agreement and contract. Then this is like a flow chart for what is the difference between an offer and a counter offer. So anyone can explain what is the difference between an offer and a counter offer? Offer and counter offer. You can even give like one example or something like that. Anyone wants to explain? Difference between offer and counter offer.
Ma'am, offer, yeah. Offer is when the person who's making the offer, he signifies his willingness. He signifies his willingness to do a particular act or to abstain from a particular. That is offer. But the counter offer is when the person to whom the offer is made, instead of accepting the offer right away, he makes a condition to that offer, and that is called as counter offer. And then it is left it is left on the discretion of the offerer, the first person who had made the offer, whether to accept that or to reject that. So if it is
Yeah.
accepted, it becomes a binding one. If it is not, then there is no contract at all.
Yeah, correct. So that is the difference between offer and acceptance. So the first person, he gets a chance to either accept or reject the offer. So right. Then these were the questions. So these questions and all also, right? When I share the document, you can try revising these questions also. That would help you get an idea on how to do this. Okay, so today we will start with the basic elements of contract. So now we know what is an agreement and what is a contract, right? So for formation of a contract, right, that will be like legally binding, for which we can go to the court, file a case against the other person, right? So for it to become legally binding, there should be certain basic elements that need to be fulfilled or that needs to be satisfied. So what are these basic elements? Anyone can tell basic elements for formation of a valid contract that we would need? What are the basic things that we would need?
Ma'am, if I'm not wrong, I don't like offer and acceptance. Agreement, ma'am.
Yeah, like it includes, right? What is agreement basically? Offer plus acceptance is only agreement. So that part is like included. Offer and acceptance, and what else we need?
The parties and the consideration of a contract.
Consideration.
Yeah, consideration should be there. And anything else that you can remember? Basic elements that we would need. So take for example, I want to enter into a contract with someone, right? So I cannot just make a contract with that person that, okay, fine, you go and, like cause harm to this person, or you go and kill this person. Can I make such kind of a contract? Will that be a valid contract if I make such kind of a contract that you go and kill this person? In return, I will pay you this sum of money. Will that be a valid contract?
No.
No. So what we need that this object and consideration both should be what? That should be lawful, right? I cannot make a contract for something which is legally not right. I cannot give a consideration, or I cannot receive a consideration which is legally not justified, right? So that is also like a basic element that we need. So these are the basic elements which we need for formation of a valid contract. First of all, we need offer plus its acceptance. Secondly, we need intention to create legal relationship. So that you can also relate to like consideration. There should be like a valid consideration should be there. And there should be an intention of the parties to enter into a legal relationship. Then we need competency of parties. The parties should also be competent to give their acceptance to that particular offer. Then we need free consent, right? It cannot be that I'm forced to give my consent to something and then the other party wants to make that contract legally binding on me, right? So it should be having free consent also. And also consideration and object should be lawful. Whatever consideration I am getting or I'm giving to the other person, that should be lawful, and also the object should be lawful. So we will discuss these points in detail also. Consideration and object should be lawful. So these are the basic things. So we will just try to understand what these points are, and also we will discuss some cases so that you understand the concept better. So first element what we have is offer plus acceptance. So firstly, we need offer and acceptance. So what is offer? It is defined under section 2A. So what is offer? As you have already said, right, that it is what? When one person signifies his willingness to do or to abstain from doing. What is willingness? That I'm letting you know that I want to make a contract with you, right? Maybe I want to supply some raw materials to you. Maybe I have a two-wheeler that I want to sell to you for a certain sum of money. So just having that thought in my mind is not enough, right? I should let you know about my intentions. So what is offer? When I go to you and I tell you that, okay, fine, I'm having this two-wheeler. Would you be interested to buy it for 20,000 rupees? So what is that? I'm letting you know about my intentions, that I want to sell my two-wheeler to you. So why am I letting you know about it? Just to get your consent with regard to that, whether you would be willing to buy that from me or not, right? So this is what offer is, that I am letting you know about my intentions so that I get your consent with regard to the same. Because we both should agree to the certain thing, right? For it to become a contract. If only I'm having the intention of selling it to you, that is not sufficient, right? You also should be willing to pay me that 20,000 rupees for my two-wheeler. So both the parties should have, like on the same thing, both the parties should be on the same thing. So I'm making this offer. So first thing that we need is offer. Just having the thought in my mind is not enough. I will have to express my thought to the other person with whom I want to make this offer or enter into a contract. So first thing we need is offer. Offer is defined under section 2A. What is it? It is basically expressing my willingness to do or to abstain from doing something. What is doing or abstaining? It may be some act or it may be some kind of an omission also. Maybe I want to, sell my two-wheeler to you. That is an act. Maybe I want to, I want to say that, okay, fine, whatever, whenever we make the contract, after that, I will not be using my two-wheeler because, you would be buying it. So I'll just, keep it properly. I'll get the servicing done and all of that, and then I will not use it. So what is that? That is not doing something, right? And saying that I will not use my two-wheeler after this particular date. So it can be both the things. It may be doing something or it may be not doing something also. So this is the basic definition. So definition and all, remembering the definition is not important for you, but you should be knowing what are the basic things that are included, right? Like the keywords, that what is it? It is willingness to do or to abstain from doing. Why am I signifying my willingness? Because I want to obtain assent of the other person. So like that, keywords you should remember, so that in case a question comes like, fill one or two words, right, from the definition part, you would be able to do that. So just try to remember the keywords and that should be enough for you. And also the section that defines this particular provision. So is this part clear, the definition part? What is offer or proposal? What is willingness to do or abstain from doing? Is this part clear?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, can you repeat again?
Okay. So what is offer? First of all, right, before making a valid contract, what we need is that we need offer. If I want to make a contract with you that I want to sell my mobile phone for 3,000 rupees, what I will have to do is that I will have to let you know about this intention, right? Just simply thinking that, okay, fine, I want to sell my mobile phone, that is not enough. You should also be knowing about my intentions. So what I will do is that I will go to you and I will tell you that I want to sell this mobile phone for 3,000 rupees. Would you be interested to buy it from me? Why am I telling you that? Because I want to get your consent to that, right? I want to know what you think about it. Would you be interested to buy it or not? So that is what offer is. I am telling you about my intentions, that I want to enter into this kind of a contract. Would you be interested or not? So that is what offer is basically. When there are two persons, one is interested to enter into a contract with someone else, he will have to express himself so that the other person knows that, okay, fine, this person wants to enter into this kind of a contract, and he can accordingly decide, right? So what is offer? Basically letting the other person know about my intentions. that I want to do this thing or I want to abstain from doing this particular thing, that I want to sell my mobile phone, or that it may be certain other things also, right? It may be take for example, I'm just telling you, okay, fine, I want to sell my mobile phone. If you want to buy it, then, like, I'm not looking for any other customers at the moment. So that is what I'm not doing something, right? I'm not looking for any other customers. So like that, it can be doing something or not doing something. Both the things would be included in it. Is this part clear? What is an offer?
Ma'am, how can the offer be made? Just by orally can the offer be made?
See, it's not, there is no like, like a thing that, okay, fine, this is how only offer should be made. So it can be, we will see that also, express or implied also. So it can be made orally also, it can be made in a written, proper, documented form also. There are various types. So that part we are coming to that. So if offer part is clear to everyone, we will move to that also. Is that part clear to everyone? What is an offer?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes,
next
ma'am.
thing, yeah, sure. And then we will move to the next part. So next thing is, an offer involves the following elements. So what are the things that offer involves, right? When I'm saying that I want to, like, let you know about my intentions, I want to make an offer to you. What are the things that this offer would include? Firstly, it would include expression of readiness. Secondly, made to another person. Thirdly, to obtain assent of the other person. So what is expression of readiness now? Take for example, I'm going to you and I'm saying that I have this mobile phone. I'm using it for the last 1 year. I want to sell it to you for 3,000 rupees. Would you be interested? Okay. If I'm making such kind of an offer to you and you say that, okay, fine, like, I don't mind buying it for 3,000 rupees. At that moment, I cannot say that, oh, no, fine, I don't want to sell my mobile phone. I should not say that. So that means what? I should be ready to perform my part if this other person is, like, other person is agreeing to it, right? If I'm saying I want to sell my two-wheeler for 20,000 rupees, I should be ready that if the other person is saying that, okay, fine, I can pay 20,000 rupees for this two-wheeler, at that moment, I should be ready to sell my two-wheeler, right? So that means mentally I should be prepared to perform my part of contract. I cannot just go and make an offer to someone and later on say that, oh, no, I'm not interested in this offer, right? So when I'm making an offer, first thing that I should satisfy is I should be willing or I should be ready to perform my part of contract, right? So that is what basically offer or proposal is. Whenever I'm making an offer or I'm making a proposal, I should be ready to perform my part of contract, right? So it can be as simple as, like, someone is proposing a person, would you be, like, will you marry me? If the other person says yes, then this first person cannot say, right, oh, no, I'm not, like, mentally prepared for marriage. Will he say like that? He won't say, right? Why? Because this person is mentally prepared to perform his part, right? If someone is asking, will you marry me, that means he is mentally prepared to, like, get married at that stage. If the other person accepts, he cannot say that, oh, no, I'm not prepared for that. Why he cannot say? Because he is ready to perform his part, right? So same thing applies here also. If I'm making an offer, I should be mentally prepared to perform my part of contract. Later on, I cannot say that, no, I have so many, like, so many memories attached to my two-wheeler. I don't want to sell my two-wheeler. I don't want to sell my mobile phone. Why? Because I'm the one who is making the offer, right? So mentally, I should be prepared to perform my part of contract. That is what is called as expression of readiness. That offer should reflect expression of readiness. That means I'm ready to perform my part of contract if you agree. So that is when offer is made, right? It's not like randomly I'm just going to a person and saying something. I should be mentally prepared for that as well, right? Take for example, like, there are certain apps like OLX and all. If you are putting an ad over there that I want to sell this particular thing, you are not doing it just randomly, right? You are mentally prepared to sell that particular thing out. So only you are putting that ad on the, like on that particular site. So this is what is expression of readiness, that mentally I should be prepared and I should be ready to perform my part of contract. Is this part clear? What is expression of readiness that we need in an offer?
Yes, ma'am.
So if any part is not clear, anyone, you can tell me, like we can discuss with the help of some other examples also. Okay. So if at any point anything is not clear, you can let me know clearly. So this is the first thing that we need, right? That if I'm making an offer, it should not be like I'm casually making some offers. I should be mentally prepared to perform my part of contract. We will also see some case laws when it was said that, okay, fine, it's not an offer, but it was basically like, like an expression of willingness. We will see some cases also that would help you understand this even better. So next thing is made to another person. So anyone can explain what is made to another person? Offer should always be made to another person. What is that point? Can anyone explain? Can I not make an offer to myself? Anyone? Like we do make offers, right? That, okay, fine, if, like if I'm preparing for this certain exam, if I can clear this exam, I will, like gift myself maybe this phone, this laptop, or this particular thing. We do make such kind of, like offers to ourselves, right? So what is this point? Made to another person. That offer should be made to another person. Can anyone explain what is that? Offer should be made to another person.
Ma'am, if I give general example,
Yeah,
is
you
it?
can give any examples.
Yeah, when we make promise to our brothers, like if you score this marks, like definitely I'm going to give some gifts. So I think this may be made to another person, if I'm
So
not
will
wrong.
that be binding? Like if you are telling your brother that, okay, fine, if you get, like this much of marks, I will give you a mobile phone. If he gets that percentage or that many marks, then can he like go to the court and file a case against you for that thing?
No, ma'am, I don't think so. He can go on.
He can go. Okay. Then can you make an offer to your own self? Because it is saying that made to another person. That offer should be made to someone else. So can you not make an offer to your own self?
Yes, in some matter we can, man.
But
Like
then will that be an offer?
I don't think so. It's a offer, ma'am.
Yeah. So what happens is that it should be made to someone else, right? So what we are reading about essentials of a contract. So to become a contract, offer should be made to someone else. We can even make an offer, like offer to ourselves, right? I can say that, okay, fine, from tomorrow I'm getting up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. So if I'm successful in doing that for like 30 days, I will gift myself this particular thing. I can make such kind of an offer. I may, like perform that. I may break that, like promise also. But what I cannot do is that I cannot go to the court and file a case against myself, right? I cannot go to the court and say that I made this promise to myself. I fulfilled the terms and conditions. Now, like I'm not gifting myself this particular thing. I cannot do that. Why? Because it's not a contract. What is it? It is basically an agreement that I made to myself, right? So that is not a valid thing. To make it valid, this offer should always be made to someone else. So now we know what is an offer. We know that offer involves expression of readiness. When I'm making the offer, I should be mentally prepared to perform my part. Secondly, it should be made to someone else. I cannot make an offer to myself and the next day I cannot go to the court and file a case, right? It should be someone else against whom I can go to the court and file a case. So that is the second thing basically, right? So I cannot make an offer to myself, and for violation of that, I cannot later on go to the court and, like unnecessarily waste time of the court, right? So it should be always made to someone else. And thirdly, why is it made? It is made to obtain assent of the other person. Take for example, I want to sell my two-wheeler. Okay. for 20,000 rupees. Now, I don't want to give that two-wheeler to you for free, right? What I want is that I want 20,000 rupees in exchange of that. So I will have to get your consent or your approval on that, right? So that is why offer is being made. If I want to just, like give away my two-wheeler to any person that I, like randomly meet on the street, I can just leave it on the street, right? But I don't want to do that. I want something in return of that. I want 20,000 rupees in exchange of that. So what I need to do is that I need to make that offer to someone else so that I can get acceptance or rejection from that other person. So there are three things that offer involves. Firstly, it is expression of readiness, that I should be ready to perform my part if this other person accepts my offer. Secondly, it should be made to another person. I cannot make an offer to myself, accept it, then do not fulfill, and then later on go to the court, wasting time of the court, right? It should be made to someone else. Why is it made to someone else? To obtain consent of the other person, that this other person should accept to it, and then we can perform our parts of contract. So is this part clear? What are the three things that like an offer involves basically? Any doubts on any of the points?
No, ma'am.
Is this point clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Now next thing is what, like types of offer basically. An offer may be express or implied. So what is an express offer and implied offer? Can anyone give any examples? Any simple examples you can give, like any random examples you can give. What is an express offer and what is an implied offer? Anyone? So meanings are also written, right? What is express? Express means proposal is written in words. Implied means proposal is made otherwise than in, like words. So any example anyone wants to give? Express and implied offer.
Ma'am, we can say that an express offer will be when like we are giving an offer over a call, or like over a like it can be both oral and written.
Yeah.
Offer.
Hmm.
And
and implied is?
Ma'am, implied, we can give that example. For example, if any of the person, if they are buying a product, for example, if I'm buying from a seller, or for example, I have gone for a shopping and I have picked up the product, and then going to a billing counter, means that is implied offer, that I am accepting that product and I'm buying it.
Yeah, right. So that is an implied offer. So right. So offers can be express also, implied also, right? What is express? Expressly I am letting you know about my intentions. Expressly as in words, right? Maybe I'm directly going to you and telling you that I want to sell my two-wheeler for 20,000 rupees. That means what? In express words, I'm telling you about my intentions, right? I'm clearly telling you that this is what I'm expecting as a consideration. This is how I want to do and all the things, right? Expressly, I'm letting you know about my intention. So that would be an express offer. It may be over a phone call. I'm letting you know by writing an SMS. I'm letting you know writing a letter, or it may be anything, right? Basically, in words, right? Basically, I'm properly telling you about my intentions. That okay, fine. I want to sell my two-wheeler for 20,000 rupees, right? It's in express words I'm letting you know. In case of implied, what happens is that it is in any other, like in any other ways other than words. So right example as you have given, if I go to a shopping mall and I just, like pick up a certain things, go to the cash counter, that means that I need all of those things and I'm ready to pay for those things, right? So I'm not going and asking the, like the cashier that, okay, fine, I need these products. I am ready to pay the whatever the MRP is. All of that I'm not saying, right? In express words, I'm not saying, but my actions or my behavior shows that I'm interested to enter into such kind of a contract. I'm just going to the mall, I'm just picking up a few things and I'm going there. That means I'm ready to pay for those things and I want to buy all of those things, right? So that is what that is, an implied offer, that it is implied from maybe my actions, my behavior, or all of that things, right? So that is what that is, an implied offer. So express offer would be like anything where I'm, like maybe I'm writing an email to a certain person saying that I want to make this kind of a contract with you, right? That is in express words. I have clearly written that on that email and I have expressed myself well. In case of implied offer, it may be just, like taking a public transport, maybe just getting into a bus. Maybe I'm not buying a ticket previously, but I know that I need to pay that, like I need to buy the ticket after I, like after taking that public transport. So I'm ready, right? When I take that public transport, my behavior, my actions shows that I'm ready and willing to pay for the ticket price, right? So that is what it is, implied offer. I'm not telling the driver that, okay, fine, I will pay the ticket price. Can I, like go to this particular place in this bus or something like that. I'm expressly not telling, but my behavior or my actions will show that I want to make such kind of a contract.
Ma'am?
Yeah.
Ma'am, can I give one example? Ma'am, some marts like supermarkets will announce during festive seasons, like, buy one get one free and some coupons. And it will comes under express or implied, ma'am?
Like some offers and all they would provide.
Yes, ma'am.
So that is like invitation to offer. For that also we have one case that we will discuss today. So that is like an invitation to offer. They are not making an offer to you, but basically they are, like trying to attract you. They are saying maybe if you buy for like 3,000 rupees, you would get 50% off. What they are doing is that basically they want other people, right? Other people's, they are inviting to make offers. They are inviting you that you go there, shop for 3,000 rupees, go to the cash counter and claim for your reward. So that is called as invitation to offer. So that part also we are coming to that. So you can say that is more like invitation to offer rather than saying it's an offer.
Okay.
Yeah. So is this part clear? What is like express offer and implied offer? Is this part clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, to whom offer is made. So this express and implied thing is based on what? How we are making our offer, right? If I'm clearly making it in terms of some maybe written or spoken words, it would be express offer. But depending on to whom offer is made, it may be of two types, right? Specific offer and general offer. So what is the difference between specific and general offer? Anyone wants to explain? You can explain with the help of examples also, or you can just say what is the difference between specific and general offer. Anyone?
Ma'am, general offer is someone which is open to all, like anyone. It applies for each and everybody who is just looking to that offer or knows about that offer. And specific offer can be said which is made to a specific purpose or to a specific person in that regard.
Okay, so for specific offers, who can accept it? If a specific offer is made to you, can I give my acceptance if I'm also, like looking for such kind of an offer?
Ma'am, if it is not made to you, I don't think you can.
Yeah, if it is not made to me, I cannot give my acceptance, right? If take for example, like someone is coming to you, okay? If take for example, I'm not there, okay? Neha is coming to you and saying that I want to sell my mobile phone for 5,000 rupees. Would you be interested to buy it or not? So you are saying I'm not interested, but I was also present in that particular situation and I was looking for, like buying a mobile phone. second-hand mobile phone for 5,000 rupees. So if I go and say that I am willing to buy, that means I'm not giving my acceptance. What I'm doing is I'm making an offer to Neha, right? Now it depends on her whether she wants to sell it to me or not, because she made the offer specifically to you, right? So I cannot give my acceptance. So that is right. What example you have given, specific is made to one specific person or a specific group of persons, or like maybe a community or something like that. In case of general offer, it is open and it is like a general offer, right? It is open to anyone who is willing to fulfill the terms and conditions. So in case of specific offer, what happens? It will be specifically made to one person or maybe a group of persons. If I'm directly going to a person and saying that I want to sell my mobile phone, right? If I'm going to you, Mansi, right? And saying that I want to sell my mobile phone, that means I'm specifically making this offer to you. Only you can accept this offer. If I'm going to a certain company and saying that I want to exchange my mobile phone for, like this particular model of mobile phone of this particular brand, that means I'm specifically going to that particular shop and giving them an offer, right? So that also would be specific offer. So it can be one single individual also, it can be groups of people, it can be an association or things like that. But it is specific that to this person only I'm making this offer, or to this group of persons only I'm making my offer. It can be one company also. I'm going there and giving them an offer or things like that. But in case of general offer, it is open to general public. Anyone who comes to know about this offer, they can give their acceptance to it, and they can accordingly perform the terms and conditions, and it would be considered that they have given their acceptance to it. So next we will discuss one case also that will help you understand what is like a general offer, right? That part you will know. So Carlyle versus Carbolic Smoke Ball Company, it is related to general offer. So anyone wants to explain the case law, what this case is basically talking about?
Ma'am, this case was regarding medicine which was said by Carbolic Small company, and in their advertisement that whoever completes one entire course of their medicine, they will not get contact into influenza, and they will never get in touch with the influenza thing. So the lady Carlyle, she completed the entire course, but still she had influenza after some time of, even after completing the course. So the case says that it says that she, as a general offer, when they are advertising certain thing as a public, as a challenge, that you eat this, you will never get influenza, or you will be totally safe from them. So by announcing this publicly, they are nothing but making a general offer. So when the person buying it and consuming it, make that person liable to compensate for their loss.
Yeah, right. So this is relating to general offer and how it will be binding on the parties. So this case was basically of the year 1892. So what happened during this year, right, 1889 to 1819, there was this deadly flu pandemic that was going on. It was also called as Russian flu. So this deadly pandemic was there, and it killed like around 1 million people worldwide. So obviously people were concerned, and during this time there was this pharmaceutical company, Carbolic Smoke Ball Company. So they like published an ad on certain newspapers that we have discovered this like treatment for influenza, right? So what this smoke ball was, basically this product was smoke ball. It was like basically like a ball, and there was one like tube was attached. So this user had to insert the tube inside his nose and then press that ball. There will be some kind of smoke inside this ball, and that will wash off all the viruses that are there. So that company, what they said is that we have discovered this treatment for influenza, and this is how you should take it. It was like, I think 3 days a week or something like that. One second, I'll just check. So they made an ad, like published an ad, and they said that you need to take this 3 times daily for 2 weeks. So this treatment would go on for 2 weeks, and you should take it 3 times daily. And if you, and like with each of these balls, right, one ball you can use only for once. So it was like a complete packet, and they mentioned the, you know, like the guidelines, how you should use it and everything with each of those packs. So they mentioned that if you are fulfilling all those, you know, like guidelines and everything, and if you are taking it properly, you would not get influenza, colds, or any other similar type of diseases. And in case anyone gets influenza or any other diseases, then we will give them a reward. So that reward was of £100. So that was like a very big amount at that point of time. Okay. So what they did is that just to gain confidence of the general public, they said that we have even deposited £1,000 in this particular like Alliance Bank. So basically, like we have already deposited this reward amount for 10 people, right? £100 for one person. We have already deposited £1,000 in this particular bank. So this is just to get confidence of the general public, right? That, okay, fine, we have already deposited it. If we are claiming for the reward, we would get it, right? So they published this ad on certain newspapers, and they said that if you are taking this with, by following all these proper guidelines and everything, you would not get these particular diseases. So reading this ad, so Mrs. Khalil, she bought that particular, you know, like complete pack, and she started consuming it for 2 weeks based on all the directions that they have given. That for 3 times you need to take every single day, and it should continue for 2 weeks. But even after that, she got influenza. So what she did is that she wrote letters to the company asking for her reward. So they were not like responding. Finally, they responded saying that, you know, like we are not bound to give you this reward because we never intended to enter into a contract with you, right? We never gave an offer to you directly. So how can you accept our offer? And also it was just to attract customers, right? We never intended to enter into any sort of legal obligations. We were never intending for that. So what court held is that it's a general offer. When you are saying that this is how you should consume it, even after taking the treatment, if you are getting influenza, we will pay you this sum of money and all of that. That means you are making an offer. Now you cannot see that I did not make the offer to you directly. It was open to anyone, right? It was open to general public, that if anyone fulfills all these terms and conditions, that means you are accepting, right? You are giving your acceptance. Company also said that, you know, like she never wrote to us that she is giving her acceptance. Also, we don't know whether she consumed it following the directions or not. She did not consume it in front of our representatives or anyone. So what court said is that you have already mentioned the terms and conditions, and whatever was mentioned there, that part is satisfied by her. Now, if you cannot decide whether she took it by following the proper guidelines or not or anything like that, that is your problem, right? That is not her problem. So you are anyways bound to provide her the compensation. And also it's not like you have just made that ad just to attract customers. You have also mentioned that you already deposited £1,000 in this Alliance Bank. That means you all obviously intended to create legal relationship, and it's a valid offer. So finally court ordered that she should be getting that particular amount of compensation, because what it was basically a general offer. In case of general offer, what happens if terms and conditions are mentioned, anyone who is having knowledge of that general offer and fulfilling those terms and conditions, they can give their acceptance, right? So if someone has published an ad, if I am fulfilling all those terms and conditions, that means I have given my acceptance and I have fulfilled my part of contract. Now the other person will have to fulfill his part of contract. So this was what basically like general offer is. In case of general offer, it is made to the general public and it is open to everyone. Anyone who fulfills those terms and conditions can say that I have fulfilled my part of contract. Now it's your turn to perform your part of contract. So is this case clear to everyone? Any doubts on this? Anyone,
ma'am.
any doubts on this case?
No, ma'am.
Others, is this part clear? What is specific offer and what is a general offer? Any doubts on that?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
So next case that we have, it is also with regard to general offer only. Lalman Shukla versus Gauri Dutt. Anyone wants to explain this case, what this case is all about? Lalman Shukla versus Gauri Dutt.
Ma'am, in this case, Lalman Shukla was a servant of Gauri Dutt, and uh, after finding out that his nephew is missing, he just sent his servant, Lalman Shukla, that please go and find my nephew. And when he went to find out the nephew, during that duration, like the Lalman Shukla was not known about it. What, like, he was not knowing, but like behind that he announced, Gauri Dutt announced an offer saying that whoever will find out my nephew, he will just reward him with certain amount. What happens that later on, Lalman Shukla was able to trace his nephew, and on the way when he was returning, he was also informed, if I'm not wrong, he was informed by policemen also that okay, your nephew is found, and so. But after coming back, Lalman Shukla came to know that there was such offer like that made by Gauri Dutt, that whoever will find out, he will give that award, like cash prize as an award. So later it was said that as he was not known about the offer itself, or the reward itself, and if he did that, he did on the basis of, like, principal agent concept. So I'm not very sure with the ending, that whether he's been awarded or not.
Yeah, so you are right. That is the case basically, right? So in case of Lalman Shukla versus Gauri Dutt, again, this is relating to general offer. What happened in this case basically is that Gauri Dutt, his nephew, went missing. So he sent his servant Lalman to trace his missing nephew. So in this case, obviously we know, right, that servant is having a duty to fulfill whatever things or whatever directions are being given by his master. So anyways, he was having an obligation. So his master said that you go and look for my missing nephew. And he also went. So after his servant left, Gauri announced a reward of 501 rupees. And he said that anyone who can give me details of my missing nephew, or who can, like, trace my nephew, I will give this reward to that particular person. So in this case, what happened is that offer was made after his servant left, right? And servant was not knowing about this offer. So after he went there, he was looking for the nephew just because his master gave him a direction, right? So he was looking for the nephew. He finally got him, and he finally, like, gave details to this his master, and his nephew, like, came back. So later on, his servant came to know about that reward, and he felt that okay, fine, I should claim for it because I gave information regarding his missing nephew. But what court held is that he is not entitled for this reward because he did not know about that offer when he found the missing boy, right? So in case of general offer, one thing that we should satisfy is that whatever, like, things are mentioned, right? In this case, what were the terms and conditions? That you should be able to trace that particular missing nephew, and you should give details of him to the other person. So when we are doing that particular thing, right, when we are giving details or looking for that missing nephew, we should be knowing about the offer. When we do not know about the offer, how can we give our acceptance? If we do not know about the offer, if we cannot give our acceptance, then it would not result to any contract, right? So in this case, it was held that the servant was not even knowing about the offer. When he do not know about the offer, how can he give his acceptance? If he cannot give his acceptance, there is no, no contract between those two persons. If he gave details of the missing nephew, it was only because he had a duty to perform whatever directions was given by the master, and he did accordingly. But he was not having knowledge of the offer. So we cannot say that he, like gave his acceptance to it. So same thing applies in any other case where one person is not knowing about the, like general offer. He performs those parts of contract and later on he comes to know. He cannot claim for those things, okay? So take for example, if one person announces, okay, that if like there is this building, 5-storied building, if anyone can like willfully jump from the 5th floor, I will give them a reward of 60,000 rupees. Now when this person is doing that, right, anyone who jumps, now one person who just like accidentally who like fell from there, he cannot come and claim for it. Why? Because he was not knowing about this offer itself, right? So like that, you should be knowing about the offer, then you should perform based on that offer, and then only you can say that I have given my acceptance and it's a general offer, and the other person is bound to perform his part of contract. So these were like the two examples, right? In one case, the servant was not aware that there is such kind of a reward that his master has announced. And in this other case, the company, right, this smoke ball company, they mentioned all the directions clearly, that this is how you should consume the medicine, this is what you should be doing. And after that, they cannot deny that, no, we, like we never intended to make it, like legally binding on us or something like that, because you have already clearly mentioned there, right, that these are the things that should be applicable to a certain person. Now even we see, right, certain times there are ads given, right? Take for example that example you gave, right, that during puja and all there would be like a festive season sale, 50% off. Below that you will see small, in like very small font, they would write terms and conditions apply. Maybe they would say that 50% off, but what is the terms and conditions? Maybe you should buy more than 5,000 rupees, then only it would be applicable. Maybe out of those 5,000 also it should be purely from like clothing section and not for like food or other things that may be available in that same shopping mall, right? So there may be certain other terms or conditions also. So if you are making a general offer, there are certain other terms or conditions. Those also you would, like mention that it's not like universally applicable. There are terms and conditions. Sometimes you would see certain shopping malls would write 50% off, but below that they will write until stock lasts. So maybe stock will be over, so you cannot claim for it, right? Or maybe they would mention only for, like old stuff, right? It would not be applicable for whatever new things they have on that particular store. So like that, there may be certain terms or conditions. But if you are clearly writing that, okay, fine, this is how it is, then it will be binding, right? In case of this Carbolic smoke ball company also, they did not say that there are certain terms and conditions applicable. You should consume it in front of a legal, a representative of our company, or before consuming it, you should write a letter and inform us that you have bought it and you are about to consume it, or things like that. So if you are not specifying anything, then it means that this is only what we should fulfill, that we should be taking it 3 times daily for 2 weeks, right? So this is how it is different, like specific offer and general offer. Is this part and these two cases clear? Anyone wants it to be repeated or anything? Is this part clear? Any doubts, anyone? You can tell.
No, ma'am.
Other cases clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now we know what is an offer, what are the basic things that we need in an offer, what is specific offer, what is general offer, what is express, what is implied, and all of that, right? Now what we should understand is what is offer and what is invitation to offer. So next thing is offer and invitation to offer. So there are again like two cases that we will study, and we will understand what is offer and invitation to offer. So do you guys want like 5 minutes break? Anyone wants a 5 minutes break?
No, ma'am.
Fine, right? Okay. So we will continue with this, okay? So next is offer and invitation to offer. So anyone can explain what is offer and invitation to offer? You can give any examples also or just explain it.
That the same thing what have given before, ma'am, that buy one get one free and coupons. That is important for an offer.
And what is offer?
Ma'am, offer is different from invitation to offer in the sense that when an offer is made and it is accepted, it becomes a binding contract. But that's not the case with invitation to offer. Invitation to offer, for example, like the example which Mansi said about the shopping mall, if there are products kept on the shelf and we go and pick a product, so that is basically it is not that the market is offering us and then we are accepting the product. It is basically we are offering, and then when we go to the cashier, when the cashier accepts, that would be a binding contract. So just by picking up a product, we cannot say that it is a binding contract and these people are bound to sell this product to us. So that is the basic difference between offer and invitation to offer.
Yeah, right. So that is the main difference between offer and invitation to offer. So now what is offer? We already know, right? In case of offer, what should be there? There should be readiness, right? Expression of readiness or willingness to perform my part. So in case of offer, when I'm making it, there should be expression of readiness. If I'm saying that I want to sell my mobile phone for 3,000 rupees, there should be expression of willingness also, right? If you say that, okay, fine, I don't mind, I even have like 3,000 rupees with me right now, I can pay you that right now only. That time I cannot say that, oh, I don't want to sell my mobile phone, I have so many memories attached and all of that. Why? Because it was an offer. But in case of invitation to offer, what happens is that I am not bound to perform, right? If you are coming to me and saying that yeah, that shopping mall example that you have given, right? If you picked up certain things and you come to me and pay for it, I can refuse, right? Why? Because it was not an offer that I made to you. It was basically an invitation to offer. I invited you to make an offer to me. I invited you to pick up certain things and make an offer to me that you are willing to buy those things and pay for it. So at that moment, I can even refuse, right? I can even say that I'm not willing to buy, like sell those or any other reason I can say. So that is the basic difference between what is an offer and what is an invitation to offer. So we have this case also, Harris versus Nickerson. Anyone wants to explain this case? This is with regard to invitation to offer. Anyone wants to explain? Okay, so this case, right, it is relating to invitation to offer. So we all know, right, what offer is. So we will just move with what invitation to offer is. So in this particular case, what happened is that there was this like auctioneer was there. They published an ad on like a few newspapers. So in this case, what happened is that this defendant, they placed an advertisement in London papers that certain items are there, including some brewing equipments, plant and other, some office furnitures are there. So they want to auction all of those things, and this auction would continue for 3 days. And they mentioned that on this last day, right, that is the third day, they will be selling those office furniture. So in this case, this person, right, plaintiff, he was like a broker. Okay, he would take money from his clients and he will go and attend auctions for his clients. So he was basically a broker based in London, what he will do is that he will take money from his clients in advance, and then on behalf of them he would go to those places and he would like buy things on behalf of his clients. So in this case also, after reading that particular ad that there will be this particular auction going on for 3 days, and on the third day they will be selling some office furniture. So what he did is that he took some money from one of his clients in advance, and he said that I will be going there and attending this auction on behalf of you. So it was like at some other place it was conducted, so he had to like travel all the way to that particular place where it was supposed to be held. So he traveled all the way. He already took money from his client in advance. And when he went there, he saw that a lot of things that they said will be sold, they, withdraw those things, right? They said that we are not selling all of these things and things like that. So what he claimed is that I traveled all the way from my place to here. I took money in advance from my client also, only because I wanted to attend this auction and I wanted to buy these, like office furniture. But now when you are not conducting this auction, that means it is a loss for me in terms of my time, my energy, and all of that, right? And also in terms of money. So you need to compensate me for all of that I had to travel all the way to that particular place, and I had to, like waste my time and all of that. So you need to compensate me for all of that because you made an offer and I accepted it. So in this particular case, what court held is that it is not an offer that this particular person made. While he published an ad on the newspaper, it was not an offer. It was basically an invitation to offer. He basically invited bidders that you should come to my, place and bid for those particular things. So it is not an offer, but it was an invitation to offer. He was basically trying to invite all these other bidders so that they can come there and bid for those particular objects that would be displayed for that thing. So this was held in this particular case that this is not an offer, but invitation to offer. So they are not bound to compensate you for the loss that you have suffered in terms of traveling all the way to the place where the auction was supposed to be held. So with regard to this, there is another case also, Pharmaceutical Society of Great Britain versus Boots Cash Chemist Limited. So is this first case clear? First case, anyone, any confusion? First case, is it clear? See, if it's not clear, you can tell, we can repeat. Clear, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this other case, anyone wants to explain what this case is all about?
I don't remember, ma'am.
Okay. So this is also with regard to invitation to offer only. So this is like similar to the examples that you have given with regard to shopping mall, right? So in this case, what happened is that the defendants, right, they had a shop and they were selling some drugs. What they will do is that they had this, like shelves in that particular shop, and they will store all the drugs, and there will be like a price tag mentioned for all those different drugs. What customers will have to do is that they will just walk inside the shop with a basket, just how we go to the grocery stores, right, with a basket or a trolley, and they can pick up all those drugs that they want. They can pay for it and they can go back. So in this particular case also, what happened is that this person, he went there, he saw all those drugs that were displayed. He just took whatever drugs he needed and he went to the cash counter to pay for all of those drugs. But at that particular moment, the cashier, he said that we are not going to sell these drugs. So the person filed a case saying that it is like an, like an offer, right? The person already, like price tag was mentioned, all those were, like displayed and all of that. So definitely the, like it's binding on them. If they have displayed the products, if there is a price tag and all of that, then obviously customers are free to buy all of those things. But what court held is that it was basically an invitation to offer only. And in this particular case, buyers, like buyers cannot say that whatever we want to buy, the other person will have to sell to us only. So basically, all the things that are displayed any particular store, those are also what? Those are also not, like offer that is made to the customer. But basically, they are asking customers that you should come to us and you should make an offer. So basically, all those shops and all, they are inviting customers to make an offer to them. So this similar case would be applicable, right? In our real life case also, we have seen many times, right? If you go to like any bakery shop, right, that those baker special or any of that, what you will see is that, take for example, you are going to any bakery shop, they will display all those, like cakes that they are having, right? Some would be some basic cakes, right? Chocolate flavor cake, this basic design will be there. So if I am in a hurry, I want to buy a cake, I would obviously go for that cake. Why? Because that is the only option they have available. Also, they may have some like custom design cake, some like princess theme cake, this theme cake, that theme cake. I cannot go and demand that you are displaying this particular cake here, so I want to buy this cake, right? Can I demand that this particular Barbie themed cake I want to buy? Maybe they have displayed it just to attract customers and show them that we want to make, like we can even make all these customized cakes also. Whatever theme you tell, we can make a cake based on that also. So what they are doing is that they are basically making an invitation to offer that customers should come to them and in advance say that maybe I want a Barbie themed cake, I want this themed cake or that themed cake. But it does not mean whatever they have displayed that they are willing to sell. Maybe that is someone else has already ordered, so they have made it. So I cannot just go there and demand for that particular cake, right? So that is also what? An invitation to offer. But there may be some basic cakes that they have that I can just go and pick up. Why? Because those basic cakes anyone can buy, right? But Barbie themed cake, anyone would not buy for anyone. So like that, I cannot just go and demand for it. Why? Because it is an invitation to offer. So even in one single shop, there may be certain things which they want to sell, but there may be certain other things which they just want to display for customers to, like invite for offers, but they don't want to sell it at that moment itself, right? So that is what basically is invitation to offer. If you are going to buy any, like clothes and all also, take for example, someone is making like heavy design saris and all of that. If we are going there, there may be a sari that is displayed, but that is someone has ordered, that is like a customized sari. I cannot just go there and say that I want to buy this sari and you should give me because you have displayed it with a price tag. Why they have displayed it? They just want to show that we can even make these kind of designs for this particular price, right? So I cannot just go and demand for it. Why? Because it was just an invitation to offer. So any other examples that you can give of invitation to offer? Invitation to offer.
Sale.
Sale. Yeah, with regard to sale also, take for example, they have displayed, right? This happens a lot of times in malls and all when you go, like crowded malls. Take for example, you are going to a mall where they have mentioned 50% off, right? Like on top, they have mentioned 50% off. And there, right, I just went there. I was just looking for some clothes here and there. I just took like few of the clothes and just put there where 50% off was written, right? And you just entered there after me and you felt that maybe these clothes are also on 50% off. If you go to the cash counter and say that this you should give me at 50% off because these I picked up from this particular, like place where it was mentioned 50% off. They can refuse and they can say that no, maybe someone has by mistake put them in this particular, like counter, but it should belong to this particular section only. These are new clothes, they are not on sale, right? They can refuse it at that particular point also, at like during sale and all also. Why? Because customers may just like mix all the products. That does not bind the shopkeeper, or that does not bind the owner that they should give it to you for 50% off because you picked that up from that particular section, because it actually does not belong to that particular section. So that is also one example. Also, take for example, someone has given an ad on a newspaper that for this particular job we have a vacancy, right? So that we always see, right? For job and all, they would mention that we need, take for example, LLB graduates, we need who are who can read, write, and like communicate well in these 3-4 languages, who can do this, do that. Maybe they have mentioned a lot of things, right? But will that make the like owner of that particular company bound to hire you if you are satisfying all those criteria? In case of jobs and all, will that bind the owner of the company? Anyone? If an ad is published, right, that we need LLB graduates who have got like scored more than 60% in their final exams, who are who can communicate well in these 2-3 languages, who can do this, do that. If you are satisfying all of those criteria, can you demand that you should be hired for that particular post because you are satisfying all those criteria? Can you do that?
No, ma'am.
We cannot do that. Why? Because it was not an offer that was made to us, right? It was basically an invitation to offer. So even if they have mentioned that these are the basic, like like basic essential qualification that we need, these are the preferred qualification that we need, even then we cannot demand that I should be hired. Why? Because they may be having certain other grounds, certain other criteria that they are looking for, right? So it depends on them whether they want to hire me or not, right? Also, we cannot define a certain thing, right? Maybe they have mentioned that we need LLB graduates who are like good in terms of communication. I may think that I'm good in communication, but based on their understanding, right, what the person should be, how the person should communicate, maybe I'm not that good. So what they can say is that they may reject, right? They may not hire me. I cannot say that I'm fulfilling all those criteria that you have mentioned, so now why are you not hiring me? Because there may be certain other grounds, certain other factors that they are also looking for, right? Same thing applies in case someone has put an ad that looking for a tenant, right? That I have this like 3 BHK house vacant. I'm looking for a tenant who would be willing to pay me 25,000 rupees rent. I cannot just go and demand that you should allow me to stay in this particular house. I'm paying you 25,000 rupees. Why? Because the owner of that particular house also may be having certain criteria. He may be looking for someone who is like a local of that particular state, who is from Karnataka only. Maybe he is looking for someone who is staying with family, who is not having kids, or there may be certain other factors also, right? So I cannot just go and demand that I will stay in this particular house because what you have mentioned is that you are looking for a tenant who can pay 25,000 rupees. I can pay 25,000 rupees, so I will be staying here. I cannot demand that. Why? Because it was basically an invitation to offer only. It was not an offer that was made to me. Same would be applicable for all these, like matrimony ads that we see in newspaper, right? So everything would be mentioned clearly that we are looking for this particular age, this color, this kind of a bride or this kind of a groom. But that does not bind the other person, right? If someone has mentioned that we are looking for a bride of this particular community, like who is this, that, all of that. A girl cannot demand that I'm fulfilling all those criteria, so you should marry me. Why? Because there may be certain other factors that are there. So by publishing those kind of ads, they are basically inviting people to give offers to them, right? But they are not giving an offer. that would be binding on them, right? We cannot just demand that you should fulfill it because I'm satisfying all those criteria. So is this part clear? What is an offer, an invitation to offer? Any confusion, anyone? Any confusion on any points you can tell?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Others, is this part clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now see, there may be certain other cases, there may be certain other things, right? So whatever I feel will help you understand the topics, I'm including all of those cases, okay? If any time you feel that, okay, fine, this case also maybe we can discuss or something like that, you can let me know that maybe this case also we can discuss, and we can, like discuss that case. Or any other confusion you have on any points, you can tell that, we can include that also in our class. Mansi, you were telling about some case. Did you find the name?
No, ma'am, I did not find. It was some case like I was going through that book named Bangia, R.K.
Oh,
Bangia.
Bangia. Okay.
So I was not getting it. But I'll get it. I'll just surely.
Yeah, sure. If you get it, you
Because
can
few
tell.
dates have already came, ma'am, like for examinations.
What day?
For judiciary examinations.
Okay. You also told, no, last class, means like constitution class, you said like it was postponed, right, that time?
Yes, ma'am. The same date has came out, but I'm not still sure that whether it will take place or not.
Yeah, like they are just declaring the dates and then postponing, right?
Yeah,
Opening
because
was.
as of now, like I have filled for North India states. So for Bihar and Kolkata, like Bengal, the dates have come. For Bihar, it is 7th, and West Bengal is 10th.
Oh,
Sorry,
West Bengal also declared, is it?
yeah. So both have declared, but I don't know how far it will take place.
Mm-hmm.
The time is also very less for me.
Yeah, time is also less. Like next month, 7th and 12th.
Yes, ma'am. Hardly 17, 15 days.
Okay. Where do you stay, by the way?
Ma'am, I completed all my graduation and post graduation from Bangalore only. I'm currently in Bangalore only, but I'm from Jharkhand. I'm not from Bangalore.
Okay. So you will have to travel then if they,
Yes.
like if it happens.
Yes, and the issue today only I booked my flight, and the problem is maybe because of connectivity issue and all, they will cancel examinations because except flight, there is no other way to travel. There is no other. From here, I
Okay.
can to Patna, but from Patna again, I have to go to West Bengal through flight only because there is no train and all. I can't travel.
Okay.
I have
Some
to.
special trains and all they gave, no? What about that?
Mom, I don't have any clue that they are for us. Like,
Okay. I don't know what is the hurry for judiciary. I mean, they can wait, right? If these entrance exams and all are fine. Judiciary is something I think they should wait.
yeah,
Maybe they can, like prelims and mains, they can reduce the time limit that is there between
yes.
the two
And
exams
for
also.
prelims, like they have given the dates and like it literally Hassan bus because earlier they said it can be after elections, but I have heard that there are probably a chances of having elections for Bihar and West Bengal. So that's why they want to just finish these examinations before election. I don't understand the concept. People are unable to travel. How they are keeping the examinations?
That is right. Half of the people too, like they won't travel only, just.
Affordability for everyone to go, ma'am. One way is not less than 5,000. Like it's going to 8,000 and all. It's like
And otherwise also, I think like prices have increased, right? I mean, like booking a cab to the airport, it only.
exactly, ma'am. Even hotels and all, everything will be like same issue. I'm just wishing that it should extend because I was going through Bihar website. There was some examination prelims only. So prelims they have shifted it to December, and I don't know how come they have kept judiciary on like October 7th. And
What prelims? Some other exams.
yeah, some other, but yeah, service exam only, like Bihar exam only, some prelims, but they have kept in the month of December. I don't know why they have kept.
What is so much hurry for judiciary? I don't understand why they are doing that.
because going and coming is another headache, like, because luckily now they are not doing that quarantine thing and all.
Yeah.
Earlier when the date was there, 14 days I have to be quarantined. How I can
Mm-hmm.
be in quarantine center or something? It was a mess.
Yeah. And like it's like 7th and 13th, your that 14 days only would not be completed.
Exactly.
That is true. Let's see. Okay, so now there are certain conditions of a valid offer. So what are these conditions? Basically, certain things that we need to make this offer valid, right? So now we have understood what offer is: specific, general, implied, implied, express, and all of that, right? Now we need certain conditions to make the offer valid. What are these things? Firstly, offer must intend to create a legal relationship. That means whenever I'm saying it, right, like what I said, right, readiness should be there, right, expression of readiness should be there. And also, like how in the Carlyle versus Carbolic Smoke Ball company said that we were not intending to enter into a legal relationship. We cannot say that, because in case I'm making an offer saying that I will be, like paying £100 to a person, like contacting influenza, things like that, I'm having this intention of entering into a legal relationship. But when I don't have an intention of entering into legal relationship, any kind of random promise that I may make, right? I'm inviting someone for dinner to my place, that person accepts it. Obviously, I know that there is no intention to create a legal relationship, right? I cannot go and file a case against that person if he or she refuses to come for dinner, right? I cannot do that. Why? Because there was no intention to create legal relationship. Same would be applicable in case, take for example, one, like I'm making a promise to maybe my brother or sister that if you score this much percentage, I would be giving you this particular gift. Maybe I'm just randomly saying it so that my brother or sister studies properly, but I'm not legally bound to provide it to him, because there is like a family relation between us. So that is something that I'm just, like making a promise. That part also, there is one section that we will study later, when it will become binding on me, even in terms of like family relations. If I'm making an offer, when it will be binding on me, that also we have one thing. So what should be there? There should be an intention to create a legal relationship. Once again, there is one case that we can discuss over here only. I'll just copy paste it. So there is this case, Balfour versus Balfour. In this case, what happened? It was basically a case between husband and wife. Anyone wants to explain what this case was all about? This is relating to intention to create legal relationship.
Ma'am, is it that case that wife gets sick in the other country?
Yeah.
And yeah. So in this case, this is the case where like Mr. and Mrs. Balfour, they were a married couple, and they went for vacation to some other place where Mrs. Balfour get sick, and that was not for a short time, short term. It was a term when she was sick for a longer time. So Mr. Balfour returned back to his own country, like native country. And earlier he used to and with a promise that you stay here because you are not in a condition to travel back, so you stay back here, and I will be keep on sending money to you so that you can take care of yourself and of your health. And but her condition was becoming worse, and only she was not getting that much like she was not recovering so fast. So it took her a very long time to stay in that country where they went for vacation. And earlier Mr. Balfour used to send the money, but I think later on, after certain time, he stopped sending money. So she was insufficient to take care of herself. and then the case was filed saying that as she is a wife and she is unable to take care of herself, so as promised by the husband, he should abide by the legal relationship which they have, and he should pay the other party.
Yeah, right. So this was basically the case, right? Mr. and Mrs. Balfour. So in this case, they were basically a couple from Sri Lanka, and they traveled to England for a vacation. During that time, this wife, she was like sick. So she visited a doctor, and doctor said that this like climatic condition of Sri Lanka is not good for your health at the moment. So what you can do is that maybe you can stay here for a little longer so that you can get the treatment, everything. Once you are fine, you recover, then you can again, like travel back to your place. So in this case, what happened is that husband had to travel back because of his work and everything. So he said that, okay, fine, you stay here. I will pay you an amount of 30 pounds every single month so that you can, like take care of all your expenses. So accordingly, he started sending her the money. But what happened is that her condition was not, like improving. It was becoming worse only. So what she basically said is that she, and what happened is that there were like some, like arguments and everything between them, and they, like divorced. They got separation. At that point of time, what wife said is that before, before when situation was normal, when everything was fine, at that point of time, you had promised me to pay like 30 pounds every single month for my maintenance. So that thing would be binding even now. Even after our separation also, it will be binding. So what court basically said in this case is that there may be many kind of, like such kind of promises and all those other things between husband and wife, right? Or any family members for that matter. But while he was making that promise, right, that I would pay you 30 pounds every single month, he was not having that intention of entering into a legal relationship. If it was at the time of separation, a husband says that I would provide you this amount of maintenance, you if you get divorced from me or things like that, that is a different thing, because husband is also knowing that we are no longer together, but still I would provide. That is a legal obligation on me. But when someone is a couple, husband and wife, or any other family member for that matter, they may make a lot of different promises, right? But that does not make a person binding. So this is what was held in this particular case, that when I'm making an offer, I should have this intention of creating a legal relationship. There may be many things that, like might be there, right? Like even in terms of husband wife also, right? Maybe husband would say that, like if you want to continue your studies, maybe you should go for it. I would pay for your expenses. That does not make the husband binding if they get divorced or something like that, right? Because, like in between husband and wife, there may be many things, but things don't change when they get divorced or they get separated. So that would not be like a legally binding thing, right? Because they were husband and wife, there may be many promises. There may be many promises between like, like family members or things like that. But what is important for a contract is that we should be willing to enter into a legal relationship with the other person also. So this is what basically it is, that husband will no longer be binding to provide that amount because they are no longer together. So he will not be bound. So this is what we need. Firstly, we need that offer must intend to create a legal relationship. When I'm making that offer, I should have that intention also, and accordingly it will be done. Next is terms of the offer must be certain, definite, and not vague. What does that mean? Certain, definite, and not vague. Anyone?
Ma'am, like the offer which they are saying should be having a certain, a very affirmed date or a definite contract or agreement, but it should not be vague. Like it should not be like, if it will happen, I'll see. It should not be like that. They should say that, okay, the so and so date our offer starts, so and so date, so and so is the agreement between you and me. Like every definite information should be mentioned when there is an offer, and both the parties should know exactly about it, and it should not be vague in nature, as it should not be misrepresented, or it should not be no fraudulent thing should be attached to that offer. So it should be very clean, smooth, and very definite in nature.
Yeah, right. So it should be very much, like certain and clear, right? When you are making an offer, take for example, you are having 5 different cars, okay? And you want to sell that to me. You are just coming to me and saying that maybe I can sell my car for 3 lakhs rupees. Now, I don't have any idea which car you want to sell, right? Because you are having 5 different cars. That is very vague, right? You want to sell some car. Now which car? I don't have any option of knowing it. So it should not be like that. It should be very much clear, it should be definite, and it should not be vague. So when you are saying, you can say that, okay, fine, I want to sell this particular car which was bought on this particular date for this much amount of rupees, and all of that, right? It should be very clear for me also to understand what you want to, like what you are offering basically. So it should be certain, definite, and it should not be vague, so that the other person understands it clearly. Next is, the offer must be distinguished from a mere declaration of intention. So it should not be what? It should not be declaration of intention. So it should be what? It should be, the offer must be distinguished from a mere declaration of intention. Now take for example, like we both are just having a conversation, and I'm just saying that, like maybe it would be better if I, like maybe like I'm thinking to buy a new two-wheeler. Like I wish I could sell this to someone. So that does not mean I'm making you an offer to sell my two-wheeler, right? What is that? I'm just declaring my intentions, right? I'm just saying that I want to buy a new two-wheeler, and for that I want to, like sell my two-wheeler to someone. I'm not making an offer to you, right? So it should be distinguished from a mere declaration of intention. If I'm just, like declaring that, that means there is no expression of readiness, right? Maybe I'm just telling you that, like, I want to buy a new two-wheeler. I wish I, like I could sell this to someone else. That does not make me, like make it binding on me, right? You cannot come and say that that day you're, like expressed your intention to sell it, I want to buy. That is not binding on me. Why? Because maybe I don't want to buy it or sell it at that right now only. Maybe I want that, maybe in the, like coming year I want to buy, or something like that. There is no expression of readiness, right? At this moment, right now, I don't want to sell. Maybe later on in future, I want to sell. So it should always be, like distinguished from what is declaration of intention. That it should not be declaration of intention, but it should be a proper offer that we are having. Offer must be distinguished from an invitation to offer. So same only, if someone is just inviting you to make offers to you, you cannot say that it's binding on you, right? You cannot just like go to a bakery shop and say that you have displayed this particular cake, so you should sell that to me. They are just inviting you for an offer. So that is what we should remember, that it should be very like clear. It should be having intention to create legal relationship. It should not be only a declaration of intention. It should not be mere invitation of offer also. Next is, offer must be communicated. So what is this point? Offer must be communicated. Anyone? Offer must be communicated.
It's like the person who is making an offer, like, for any valid offer, first of all, the offer must be communicated. If there is no communication, how the other person will know that like the second party, what kind of offer he is making, the offer is relating to what? So until unless there is not in communication, like it will not be a valid offer. It will be like no offer at all, because the person who will just think that I have to sell and he will not communicate that he has to sell, then it will be in his self only, it will be in his mind, so there will be no offer in real sense.
Yeah, right. So just having a thought in my mind is not enough. I should communicate it to the other person also. So we can take that same example of Lalman Shukla versus Gauri Dutt also. There was no communication, so there was no offer, right? Because it was not communicated to the servant, or servant was not having knowledge of that offer, right? So what we need is that we always need communication of that offer. If I want to make a specific offer to you, I should let you know about it. If it's a general offer, the person who is accepting and performing accordingly, that person should be having knowledge of that particular offer. So communication also is very important. Next is, offer should not contain a term the non-compliance of which would amount to acceptance. Now, what is this term, anyone? What is this condition? See, in case of offer, in case of essentials of contract, what we have seen is that for a valid offer, we need like a free consent, right? That means you should be freely giving your consent that I want to perform this contract. Now, what I cannot do is that in the offer itself, I cannot make such a clause that if you are not doing this, it would imply that you are accepting my offer, right? I cannot, like if I'm, take for example, I'm writing an email to you and I'm saying that I want to sell my mobile phone for 3,000 rupees. You should, communicate regarding your acceptance or rejection within 1 hour. If you do not respond to this email within 1 hour, I would consider that you have accepted my offer. I cannot do that. Why? Because maybe within 1 hour, you would not even check your email, right? So in the offer, I cannot make one clause that if you are not performing this particular clause, it would mean that you have given your acceptance. Why? Because acceptance should be always free, right? You should have that intention, you should know everything, then you should give your acceptance. So in the offer itself, I cannot make a condition that if you are not responding to this email within 1 hour, I would consider you have given your acceptance. If you are not, I will call you. If you are not picking up your call, that means you have given your acceptance. Those kind of things we cannot do. Why? Because acceptance should always be a valid acceptance and it should be with free will of the other person. So is this point clear, that offer should not contain a term that non-compliance of which would amount to acceptance? Is this part clear?
Ma'am, here non-compliance as in what? Like don't mention certain thing in offer which you can't comply with. Like in layman term, how we can understand that, ma'am?
Non-compliance as in not doing. Take for example, offer should not contain a term. What is that term? That if you do not respond to the email within 1 hour, I would consider you have acceptance. So non-compliance is what? You are not replying within 1 hour. If you are replying within 1 hour and saying I don't want to accept this offer, that's fine. If you are non-complying to the term that you should reply within 1 hour, then I would consider you have accepted, right? So non-compliance is it, you are not doing a certain thing, so that would mean that you have given your acceptance. So I cannot make such kind of a term in the contract. I cannot say that if you are not picking up my call, I would think you have given your acceptance. If you are not replying to my letter within 7 days, I would think you have given your acceptance. If you are not replying to my email within 1 hour, I would consider you have given your acceptance. I cannot do that, right? That non-compliance or non-performing of this part will make that you have given your acceptance. So non-compliance basically is not doing a certain thing that I have mentioned in the offer. Is this part clear, this point?
Yes, ma'am.
Next is, special terms and conditions in the offer must be communicated. So there can be certain, special terms or conditions which may be there, that also should be communicated to the other person, right? Take for example now, right, during this COVID period, during this lockdown and all of that, if you try to order something online, what they will mention is that you would get like a special note that because of the ongoing situation, because of the lockdown and all of that, you may expect a delay in delivery of the items. Why they are telling you that? Because maybe you are ordering it because you need it on an urgent basis. So in that case, at least you would know that, okay, fine, this product will get delivered like after 7 days, after 8 days. You would be accordingly prepared, right? So if there are certain special terms or conditions, that also should be mentioned to you. Like, take for example, you order a lot from any shopping website, right? You order a lot from Myntra. You know that they would deliver within 2-3 days. Now, because of all the situation, they are delivering after a week, after 2 weeks, or things like that. So that is a special condition that they should tell to their customers. Maybe they should tell all these, like grocery stores and all, during this COVID period, what they were doing is that they were saying, like, like grocers and all, they would say that now we are not accepting new orders. We are firstly clearing the old orders, or things like that. So those are what? Those are special terms or conditions. Those are special things that they should inform to you prior, right? Maybe there would be certain examples, right? Take for example, you are ordering something. They have mentioned that because of the the COVID situation, we are not accepting return on these clothing items. Why? Because there is a risk associated with it that the person would try and then return the clothes. So we are not accepting return. So that is what? That is a special condition. Otherwise, we were accepting returns, but now we are not accepting. That is what? That is some special terms and conditions, and they should inform those to the customer, like customers also. So that is what it is talking about. If there are certain special terms or conditions, that also they should inform to the other person. So are these points clear? Any point is not clear, you can tell, we can repeat it.
Clear, ma'am.
Other points clear? Any doubts on any point? Is this part clear, others? Neha?
Clear, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Clear.
Mamta, is this part clear? Conditions of valid offer?
Yes, ma'am, but I didn't get that F point. Like, offer should not contain it.
Okay.
The non-compliance of
Yeah.
which.
So what it is saying, basically, offer should not contain. What is offer? Whatever I am telling you, right? That is an offer. If, take for example, I am writing an email to you and I am saying I want to sell my mobile phone for 3,000 rupees, right? So offer should not contain a term. In that offer I am mentioning, if you do not reply to this email within 1 hour, I would consider that you want to buy this mobile phone from me for 3,000 rupees. That is what? That is a term that I have mentioned, right? That you should reply to the email within 1 hour. Non-compliance as in you are not doing that. Non-compliance is what? I have mentioned the term that you should reply to the email within 1 hour. If you are not following that term, if you are not replying to me within 1 hour, I would consider that you have accepted my offer. You are willing to buy my mobile phone for 3,000 rupees. I cannot say like that. Why? Because your acceptance should always be a free acceptance, right? Your approval should be free. I cannot forcefully, just put it on you, right? I cannot say that if you are not replying to my email, if you are not responding to my phone call or something like that, it would be binding on you. Why? Because your approval should always be free. So non-compliance as in not performing. Non-compliance of what? A term. Term is what? Basically any condition, right? If I'm saying you should reply to my email within 1 hour, that is a term. Non-compliance as in you are not performing that. You are not replying to me within 1 hour. So that non-compliance or non-performance will not make it binding on you that you should buy my phone for 3,000 rupees. Is this clear, or still you have confusion?
No, mama, I got it.
Clear, right? Yeah, so
Yes,
you can remember term means what? It is any condition that I have put, right? Non-compliance is not performing. Any condition that you have not performed, that will not imply that you have given your consent or you have given your approval or that it will be binding on you. So other parts is it is clear, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So if any part is not clear, just you can tell, okay? We can try to explain with the help of other examples also. Okay, so this case also we already discussed, right? That husband and wife, there may be different types of, like arrangements, different types of promises, different types of things between husband and wife, but that will not create legal relationship. There may be a couple, husband and wife, who are staying. So maybe husband has said that, okay, fine, like I will clean the house all, like every single day. So after they get separated, then wife cannot demand that husband should come and clean her house, right? Why? Because those were certain things that they promised when they were together, right? So those things we cannot demand when we, like they have separated or something like that. So like that, you can remember that whatever arrangements, whatever promises were there between husband and wife, those are not like legally binding on the persons. There may be many different promises, but we cannot say that after separation also it's a legal obligation on you, you should do that. If someone is picking up his wife cannot demand that after separation, right? Wife cannot say that you should, now also you should drop me to my office, now also you should pick me up from my office. Why? Because there are, like difference between when someone is together and when someone has separated. So same was the case in this particular uh, case also. Okay, so for basic elements, today we have discussed about offer. We also have with regard to acceptance. Then we will discuss what is intention to create legal relationship, competency of parties, free consent, lawful consideration, and object. So what all things we discussed? We discussed about offer. That offer is defined under section 2A. It is willingness or, like expressing willingness to do or to abstain from doing. Willingness of any act or omission to the other person. Why? Because we want to get consent of the other person that he or she is also willing to enter into a contract with us. Offer will involve what? Expression of readiness. That if I'm making an offer to you and if you are accepting that, later on I will not say that I am not prepared to perform this contract. Why? Because it was me who made the offer. So I should be ready and prepared to do my part of thing, right? So this is how it differs from like invitation to offer. In case of invitation to offer, they can say that there is no expression of readiness. Even if you order a princess themed cake, we are not ready to deliver it to you right now. Maybe we would take 1 day time. So you should come to us 1 day prior if you are ordering a themed cake. But if you want to order like a random normal chocolate flavored cake or a, like a pineapple flavored cake, we have that available. We can give it to you at that moment itself. So this is how it differs from offer and invitation to offer. Next is it should be made to another person always. I cannot make an offer to myself, accept it, then do not perform and then go to the court, right? It is basically a promise that I have made to myself that is not legally binding. I cannot make a promise that I will wake up at 4 o'clock every single day and then study. If I break that, I cannot, go to the court and file a case. And it to obtain consent, I should get consent from the other person, which will be a free consent. So it can be expressed also and it can be implied also. Directly I have told you this is what I want to do, or it may be implied from my actions. Maybe if I'm, like if you have got down from a train, right? There was a coolie who just came near you and picked up your luggage. Now, if you do not stop the coolie from carrying your luggage, what does that mean? That means that you are ready to pay the coolie for, like carrying your luggage to the maybe taxi stand or somewhere. You cannot later on say that I did not, like ask you to do that. Just because you were silent, you did not ask him to stop doing that, that means you have given your consent. You are ready to pay him for whatever he has done, right? So that is what is implied offer. So next was specific and general offer. For this, we discussed these two cases. So for the cases, I will share like a brief, like brief facts and all of that for the case. You can read from there what was basically held in that particular case. Next is offer and invitation to offer, how they differ. And then we have this conditions of valid offer, certain things that we need to make the offer valid and binding. Is this part clear? Any points you want to be repeated? Anyone?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. Ma'am, like I have one doubt, not about the subject. In judiciary exams in Mays, after we clear the prelims, in Mays we have to give more importance for the case laws or the content of the subject, like or any topics, ma'am. Like I'm getting that confused. Like we have to give more importance for the case laws or content.
See, cases are also important. Okay, now see, like for contract, you don't have that in mains, I suppose, for any states. But now take for example, you have it for like any other subject. Okay, take for example, constitution, you have it. Okay, now if one question comes, you know, like take for example, this question is for 5 marks. Okay, now take for example this contract only. Even if it's not there in your mains, we will take contract example only. Okay, take for example, there is one question like what is the difference between specific and general offer. Take for example, there is or like offer and invitation, right? There is one question, they are asking what is the difference between offer and invitation to offer, and marks is like 5 marks. If you have just in general, you have written offer is this, invitation to offer is this, that, and you have given some random examples that I'm going to a supermarket, I'm buying things or things like that. You have written like that one answer, and someone else has written the answer very, you know, like proper organized way. They have mentioned this is what offer is, this is what invitation to offer is. We can understand what invitation to offer is with the help of these two decided cases. What happened in Harris versus Nickerson, this was the facts, this is how it was held, that how, you know, like it is only an invitation to offer and not an offer. Then you are giving this in other case also, pharmaceutical society, this is what was held. Now if you are, you know, like checking that particular paper, which answer would you prefer? Someone giving just some random examples and someone giving proper case laws and explaining it in a proper organized way, which one would you give more marks?
So I think it's for case laws, which
right, definitely for case law. So obviously you should know the topic, right? So first of all, you should be concerned in understanding the topic and knowing the topic, you know, like the basics of the topic, and then you should also study some case laws, because that would give strength to your answer, right? If you are just giving, okay fine, this is what offer is, this is what invitation to offer is. Offer is what I'm making you an offer to buy, you know, like sell my cell phone. And what is invitation to offer? I'm going to a supermarket picking up things. So that is like a very vague answer, right? But when you are writing cases and all, obviously the, you know, like examiner would also think that you have properly studied and prepared and things like that. So obviously cases also you should study, but firstly understand the topic, then whatever related landmark cases are there, that also you should prepare. But that again depends on the marks.
Ma'am, we can solve the other state question papers also, ma'am. There is no
definitely you can solve, because see, right, some like some are general only, right? Take for example this contract, then constitution, CPC, CRPC, all of that, all the states have, right? So you can definitely prepare for that. If for CPC there is a question on a certain topic, right, like with regard to plaint or something like that, if you are preparing for that, maybe the question would be asked in a different way, but obviously you would have an understanding on the topic, right? You will know the cases, and also definitely solving, you know, like while solving question papers, don't think that only for this particular state I should, you know, like look for any state, whatever question paper you are getting, that only you should try to solve.
Actually, you know, there are certain question which matches also. Like at least you'll have that idea that okay, these kind of question asked, because when she's asking about case laws, I just want to request you one thing, ma'am. Is it possible, like you said, Harris versus Nickerson, okay? So in bracket it is written invitations to offer. You know, I was certain old question paper where case laws are given, and they will be like, this case law was related to what. So, for example, Harris versus Nickerson, they can give, it will be an offer, accept, invitation to offer, or none of the above,
Okay.
like that. So we will find out, we will have to say, okay, it was a case law of invitation to offer. So I just wanted to request, like, because I don't know about like old thing, but now contract is a main subject for mains, ma'am.
For
Because
mains.
yes, ma'am. Because for me, for West Bengal also, and for Bihar also, both they have mains for contract. Contract is a main. Like, because they don't say contract as alone, they say contract and taught together.
Okay.
So, ma'am, like when you are giving the cases for contract, because most of the MCQs are asked from contract also, ma'am. So, like that, can you mention in bracket, okay, this case is for that, so that, you know, when we are getting your notes and we are reading, we can just have that in our mind.
Yeah, fine then. So I will mention that also.
Yes, ma'am.
For what this case relates. Oh, I was not knowing that it's for like mains also it's included.
There, ma'am, like it is a compulsory paper for West Bengal as of now, and for Bihar also it is main only for main.
Okay.
So I think for other state also it will be. Like
Okay.
main 5 thing doesn't change for any state, I feel, ma'am. Like constitution,
Yeah,
like
CPC, CRPC, these are like the basic things. Yeah.
so like basically 4 never changes. I have seen other state syllabus also. So like CPC, CRPC, IPC, evidence, contract, and constitution. Never change. Even constitution is not for mains, but tort and contract is there for mains.
Okay. Oh, I think for Karnataka, it's like contract and all these like negotiable, specific relief. Those are for your prelims, and constitution is for mains, I suppose, for Karnataka.
Yes, ma'am. Consti, IPC, and CPC, CRPC. Negotiable.
Negotiable is for that, right? Prelims?
Yeah, it's for prelims. Evidence is mains.
Yeah, evidence and all main subjects. Yeah.
There are so many laws for North Indian state. I don't know why.
Yeah, North Indian states, I also feel that it's that only.
Ma'am, like even there are such certain laws which we haven't studied from college only.
Like?
Principle of equity. I haven't studied in my college days. Equity, trust. Like I'm really struggling for these acts because I have to literally brush up as soon as I can. Like I'm just at least I have some. I don't have anything to read also. Like that.
Okay. For equity, like you have some legislation or what is that?
Ma'am, it just says law of equity and trust. More was there. So, yeah, this was only principle of equity, principle of trust, and commercial laws. Commercial laws, to all, anyways, we know that.
Yeah.
I haven't studied ever.
Yeah, subjects are like different for different states. That is the thing. Yeah. Fine then. So for contracts, there's like cases when I give you that part, I will try to include. Okay, so this part, conditions for valid. Okay, so this part we have completed. So I will share this document also. You can go through it. If you feel any point is not clear or anything, next class also you can tell, we can discuss that point. And you get any cases or anything you want that to be discussed, that part also you can tell, okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, fine then. So next class we will continue with acceptance or promise and the remaining part, okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, fine then. So I'm ending this class, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.